Hi everybody, welcome to week one. I hope you've had a chance or are in the business of going through the modules and having a look at some of those terms that are going to be helpful to you throughout the semester, some of which you may have encountered in 100, but that certainly you will see more frequently and be more engaged with in 200 here. In terms of your reading, you should have or should be able to in the future, if you haven't gone through all of the terms yet, see a little bit of how they operate and get a bit of a firmer grasp of some of them, certainly as you read through the discussion of women in hip-hop, feminism in hip-hop, and what that kind of looks like, and what some of those big terms that the Feminist Lens employs look like in an actual conversation, in an actual focused investigation into a particular issue. So particularly around gender, ideas of femininity and masculinity and how we reproduce those, even sometimes as we're challenging what they look like. We all operate within the social, so even while we are creating counter-narratives or challenging dominant ideologies, sometimes we reproduce aspects of the thing that we're critiquing simply because we can't help but get outside the social. We are all part of, we reflect back the social. So a lot of these concepts we embody, they are naturalized in our own worlds, right, that we operate in and walk in every day. And so while we can certainly be conscious of and challenge and work to create new structures or new paradigms to operate within, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to actually get outside of the social in its entirety. And she makes that very clear in the article that in some measure, some of those female rap artists, sort of walk that line as they attempt to challenge what it looks like, what rap itself looks like, but also, or hip-hop, but also what it means to be a woman in the hip-hop world. So to be an example while simultaneously challenging the idea that this should be a man's world, right, is one way to, one window into seeing how difficult it is to really fully remove yourself from some of these social constructs that govern the world that we live in. If you have questions, don't hesitate to call me. The Meet Your Professor video is going to be up right away. I'm hoping. I had created one last night, and my computer at my home seems to take quite a long time to upload it, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to create a second one here and get it up for you right away so you know a little bit about me. You have had a couple of questions this week about what the term will look like, and so one thing I just want to highlight, and I'll mention this probably every week, but my office hours are Wednesday mornings from 10 till 12, and there's a chat forum, so we can be in real time sort of discussing anything that might be coming up for you as you make your way through the modules and also as you work on your assignments. You can also call me at 306-584-1255 with any questions or concerns. Please don't hesitate to post questions or comments in the forum, so that all of you can benefit from each other's questions and or responses. I try to respond as quickly as I can. I was away last week, but I should be able to be a little bit more on the ball now when I'm back. Keep in mind gender when you are thinking about the world that you live in, as you are perhaps reading magazines or on your social media, watching particular television shows. Last night the Golden Globes were on, right, and there was a really great opportunity to have a look at how gender operates and the differences between how men and women are approached on the red carpet, how they are treated sort of by their peers, by journalists. It's operative in ways that sometimes we're not aware of because we are so accustomed to this particular narrative, and because we've grown up around it, we've seen it all of our lives. And so even though it might operate slightly differently in some spheres like that, like the Golden Globes, maybe we've not had those kinds of experiences or in our own lives, but certainly the way that gender operates is present, and some of that we take for granted because it's what the norm has been, right? And part of learning about feminisms and really sort of biting in is to get very clear about the subtleties of how how gender works, how patriarchal constructs work, heteronormativity, some of these things, right, that are always present, sometimes under the surface, though maybe not as obvious to the naked eye, might require a little bit of critical thinking or unpacking to see, because you need to look beyond the conditioned sort of part of your mind, right? So as you go through your week, have an open mind. Try really hard to be mindful of what that's going to look like. See where you can pick up on things you might not have picked up before, now that you're sort of examining these terms and really trying to get a good handle on them. Feel free to send me examples if you happen upon some, because of how they're everywhere. And enjoy the reading. Hip-hop is one of those areas that is sort of notoriously sexist in many different ways. It can also be, race plays a huge factor there, and something else we might want to think about. I grew up listening to hip-hop, and it certainly has been, as I have developed my feminist self, one of those areas that's been hugely challenging for me, because while I love Ice-T and I loved Slick Rick, I also recognize that there's a lot of misogyny, particularly in hip-hop, you know, from back in the day. And so I enjoy it still, but definitely with a critical sort of lens attached to it. It's one of those things that I, even as a kid, when I was really inquisitive and I was already developing my sort of feminist sensibilities as a teenager, I might have been bothered by some of the language, but I wasn't quite willing to unpack it maybe in the way that I do now. And now I see that there's a way to, I don't have to quit loving, you know, something that was attached to a part of my life when I really enjoyed it, but I certainly am aware now, and that is part of what I hope will happen here, is that your awareness and critical thinking skills will get better. So have a good read, see what kinds of linkages you can make to perhaps other genres or artists that aren't mentioned. Enjoy, and we will see you soon. Take care.